This is the gospel according to the IRS, Breaking Points and Church Financial Updates. And now, here's the authority, Dr. Michael Chitwood and Breaking Points.
Violations from the church checkbook. Oh, that's a very harsh term, harsh word, violation. Acts of violence, acts that's wrong. Anything that's wrong is a violation. And that word is something that you need to face today. If you don't face it today, you may be facing something tomorrow that would be a lot worse than violations from the church checkbook. Remember the little preacher that was ordained and licensed and commissioned, and then he was indicted? Those things don't go hand in hand. It was caused by something that was done wrong. It wasn't his fault, but just because it wasn't his fault, he was the benefit and recipient of hundreds of thousands of dollars over several years of unreported income. When I left you the other day, I gave you the violations from the church checkbook 1 through 3. I also gave you 4. I want to repeat 4 for you. Grab a pen and pad. This is Breaking Points. Number 4, assets paid for by the church, but the church does not have title to those assets. In other words, the church took a church check and paid for an asset for the pastor that the pastor had title to. That's private annulment, and you will go to jail if you don't declare that as income. Let me give you these 6 points, A through F. A is minister's car payment / camper. He had a camper payment, and on his camper payment, he was having the church to make that camper payment for him, and the camper belonged to him. The car payment was being made for him, but the church did not have title to the car payment. So you need to make sure that you understand that the church cannot pay your car payment unless they put it into your income. B, minister's mortgage payment. They were making his minister's mortgage payment straight to the mortgage company. You can't do that. Now, it can flow through housing allowance, and he makes his minister's mortgage payment because it should come out of his personal checkbook. C, minister's furnishings. They were buying all the furnishings for his personal owned home because he told them that someone told him that it came under parsonage allowance as far as furnishings go. D, personal credit cards for use of just the church and some personal. For example, you got a credit card statement that comes in. You take it into the church check writer. She writes a check for the full amount. The things that were on there that were church can be paid for by the church. But he also had a lot of personal things on there. She didn't know. The board said they could do it. So they just kept paying the pastor's personal credit cards. E, membership to a sporting facility, to a gym that the church was paying on behalf of the pastor and his family. And F, a cassette player, a video camera, and all of his personal books for his library were included in this asset disbursement. Now, that's A through F for you there. Just one category, assets paid for by the church. Number 5, annuity payments, which are self-serving. You can't do that if they're self-serving. It doesn't meet the criteria of the Internal Revenue Code. 6, gifts from relatives and non-related church members. You can't have the church to buy gifts for the pastor's relatives. It's against the law. Number 7, they were paying for his postage, personal stationery, and all the little knickknacks for the pastor's house. In other words, when he got ready to mail his bills, he'd take all of his bills in to the church secretary, and she would use the postage of the church. That's just one thing. And you know what happens as you start talking, more things come out. More things are violations, and it just does not work out very well. Number 8, tithing accounts. They were even having it where that the church would deduct tithing from the pastor's gross pay. Now, I don't know how much tithing he was paying, but it couldn't have been much because his income was only $11,375. And when they got through with all this, you found out that there was a lot of things involved. Number 9, they were able to set up a tithing account for the pastor, where that all of the special funds that came in marked tithe went into that account that he used as a discretionary fund. You can't do that. And number 10, deducting the minister's car expenses from his salary. You can't deduct the minister's car expenses from his salary. And don't get that confused. They were making his car payment on an asset that he didn't own, but you cannot deduct the minister's expenses on his automobile from his W-2 form. After that was all done and said, $83,000 is the total amount that the IRS said he should have declared as income. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you remember what it was at the beginning? $11,375, and it jumped all the way for 1 year to $83,000. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you call understatement of income, and that's called income tax evasion. Make sure that you don't have any violations in your church checkbook. Michael Chitwood, I'll see you tomorrow.
Breaking Points gives you the latest IRS updates and tax law. Pastor, if the IRS came to your church today, what would you say? If you really want your house of worship in order, call 1-800-345-9117.